All righty. So, yay, we have Rachel Thomasian with us today. So happy you're here. So, I already shared with the listeners a little bit about you and your background, but I would love for you to share anything that's meaningful to you about, being a therapist, why you started in the field of mental health, and then we'll dive into parenting topics.
I'm so excited to get to talk with you, Kendra. I think you and I have been connected for several years now, and we have, a collegiate, like a professional relationship. And, talking with you about just the business of being a therapist and parenting and child psychology has always been a fascinating conversation. So I'm excited to put this on tape today. I started as somebody interested in psychology and mental health, when I was a kid, probably like, or a teenager. And it interested me because I come from a culture where mental health is never talked about, never discussed. And I had a family member who was really struggling with pretty severe, pretty debilitating anxiety. And then, like, watching people mishandle that situation really wanted me to get involved and do something about it. And we've come a really long way in my community in the last 10 years since I've been a licensed therapist, and it's talked about way more openly. I think mental health is treated as a bigger necessity. I think even with my parents now, parenting is seen as a very different beast than how I approach parenting. And often, there's still a clash about how I handle things and how the generations above me handled parenting. But when I'm able to speak to people about why I do what I do and how I see things and understand things a little bit differently, then we can find common ground and it's less strange or, kind of a hippie
Yes.
approach. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. And I shared before we started recording, but I'm just so excited to have you on because you have a very unique and valuable perspective on mental health, being both a therapist and a mom. And I know your clients adore you. Like I only hear good things. So I know you're doing something right.
Same, Kendra, same.
So let's jump in. I am just curious what it's like to be both a therapist and a mom.
Oh man, that answer depends on the day for sure. I think I, like most people who have always known they want to be a mom, I have known I've wanted to be a mom since I was probably 2 years old. Um, I think my dad picked my name Rachel, and it means motherly. And so, I'm the oldest of three kids. I very much have always taken on that mother role. And I think, like most people, I went through life before being a parent, imagining what my kids would be like and what I would be like as a parent. I think I would be surprised if anybody said their parents did certain things and they made a mental note that I'm not going to do that with my kids. Or everyone has a picture of what kind of parent they're going to be. And also we have a picture of what our kids are going to be like. And I became a parent at age 30 years old. And the moment my son was born, I realized this is not just somebody I like imagined and brought to life. This is somebody who is their own human being. And so I think that it's been a gift to be a therapist, to see it through that lens of this is their own person and not an extension of me necessarily. They have their own will, their own wants and needs. I often will see difficult situations like a tantrum through the lens of a therapist, right? Like if all the stars align and it's a good day, I can see what's going on for them. I can see the dysregulation. I can see their cry for help and really attune to that. And just those moments are, incredible, both mom moments and therapist moments.
Yeah.
I can also see it as I'm a mom and sometimes I'm tired, and I'm a working mom who owns her own business and has a startup, and I'm tired a lot. And when it's 8:30 and it's bedtime, like I'm ready to tap out of being mom mode and I'm on my phone and I just need to zone out. And I also need to understand that that's okay too. My brain has a limited capacity, just like everyone else's.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to show up as the perfect textbook parent every time. And so I think that I would sum up my experience as a therapist and a mom is just balance. And not every day is not going to be perfect. Every day is going to hold some wins and some losses. And I show up and do the best I can every day.
Oh, that's powerful. And I mean, on this podcast, I speak so frequently about the nervous system and something I call the expectation gap of really what we expect kids to do or to behave in a certain way and what they really can do. But I feel like that applies to adults and parents as well. Because I was going to ask you, when is it hard to practice what you preach? But you shared a little bit about that. And obviously you are human with a certain body budget for the day of what you can
Yes.
do. So I loved what you just said.
Yeah. It's hard to, I think one of the hardest parts is when I react out of my own fight or flight of in a moment where I'm frustrated or my kid does something scary, like grab a knife or grab something they're not supposed to. And I react from that space. And then my more enlightened version will like slow down. And I think that not only are those moments difficult or, a little bit embarrassing if I yell in a way that I'm not proud of or just react very quickly. I think in those moments actually are the greatest gifts I'm able to give my children because I will stop myself and say, "Oh wow, you know what? I said something that hurt your feelings or I reacted in a way that was scary for you and I want to stop and see how that made you feel." I think that what parents should know above anything else is in these moments of repair are the biggest gifts for children for a few reasons. For them to just experience that something can go in a way that I didn't want or didn't expect. And there can be a repair for that. Like something can be not okay and then turn into okay because of how we communicate about it. My children can learn how to ask for what they need or how something makes them feel. I just had yesterday a parent teacher um, conference with my 4-year-old daughter's preschool teacher. And she was just saying, your daughter's communication about her feelings and things that bother her are unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And so I was like, this is a proud moment. Um, Another gift in repair situations is they get to see that this human being that they put on a pedestal, who is their mom, who is supposed to know everything and be right about everything, can be wrong. And so if I model for my children that sometimes I mess up and then I get a chance to repair, it gives them permission to not be perfect, to not expect perfection from themselves or other people. And that it's more, the more important piece is the human connection, the communication, the vulnerability of saying, "Hey, I'm sorry," or "Hey, I see that that made you scared," or "I see that you didn't like that. Let's talk about it."
Yeah. So powerful. And I know we briefly spoke about the power of apologizing and the power of an apology, especially to a child. But I completely agree. It's like a gift that really goes all the way around. But I think when it comes to children, obviously, we know as clinicians, like they really will copy our actions, our behaviors. So, not what you say, it's what you do and how you are. And wrapped in an apology is that incredible permission that's saying, hey, I have a nervous system too. Like my body can hijack my best thinking. And that I firmly believe like that really helps build confidence in children because they won't go to shame when they mess up or they won't automatically feel bad for having an off day. So I love that.
Yeah, I think, when I was talking about the clash I have with some members of my family or my community or just parents in general, is just this idea that I apologize to my children. And I think it's a little bit misunderstood because it's not, my children do not run the show. I have very clear boundaries of what's allowed. If my kids behave in a way that is hurtful to others, or for any other reason is crossing a boundary or unacceptable in regards to our family rules or cultural norms, I expect them to have a consequence. One of those consequences is to repair with others, with their peers, or with an adult. And so it's not that my children get away with murder or they don't have rules or that the adults in our family bend to their rules. That's not the case at all. I think when we think about apologizing, it's actually a fairly difficult task. When I hurt my sister's feelings, when we get into a fight, I write out a text apology 4 times and then erase it before I actually send one because it's a vulnerable thing to do, to say, I was wrong. I hurt your feelings. Please forgive me. Right? Like, let's repair this. So when I think about how hard it is as an adult to do, and then to expect a kid to just say, I'm sorry when they've messed up, and children don't often acknowledge that they did something wrong. It's usually this person took what I wanted, or this person pinched me. They don't acknowledge they pinched them first. And it's super interesting because my daughter is very strong-willed and she struggles with saying sorry. Even it hurts her to have hurt somebody's feelings. She will know that she did something wrong and she wants it to be okay. It is difficult for her to look somebody in the eye and say sorry. And I will watch a lot of parents say to their kid, well, just say sorry. And for that kid, it might be genuine, or it might just be my parent just wants me to say this so they'll shut up and I'm going to go on. I'm going to say sorry, with a big eye roll. My daughter will come to me and just like put her head in my chest and say, I want you to be my voice. Like she will say, can you be my voice? I'm sorry, but I can't say it. Can you say it for me? And I will turn to whoever she's hurt and I'll say, she's really sorry. She's having some trouble saying the word sorry, but she is sorry. And my daughter will nod. And then it will be okay. And for me to not force her to say that word, I think helps her grow confident. Every time she watches me be her voice and somebody else appreciate her apology and have that repair, it gives her confidence that she can do it herself. Mm. Whether that's at 4 or 5 or at 24. I don't care when it happens. I know it will happen.
Oh, that brought tears to my eyes. It's so beautiful because it speaks wonders to the relationship she has with you and how she used you to co-regulate the discomfort of messing up. Yes. And really utilizing you as a resource to be her voice. Like that's very powerful.
And do you think she would do that if I yelled at her and forced her to say sorry each time? No.
No way. No way.
That connection has only been formed because of our understanding of each other and our respect of each other as two very different human beings.
Yeah.
I talked about expectations, becoming a parent. My son is very much wired like me. My daughter is very much an opposite. So to be able to attune to her needs and where she's coming from, I'm not trying to change her to become like me. I'm trying to help her be her own empowered version of herself.
Yeah. I love that. And just going back briefly for listeners who are parents who are tracking with us and really listening to this conversation, but maybe are feeling like, oh, I want to apologize to my kids, but I don't have the practice. And it's actually, it feels uncomfortable just thinking about starting. Do you
Yeah.
have any like support or advice for those parents?
Start with something small. You know, we have movie nights at our house and we take turns picking a movie, and sometimes somebody will be very excited to watch something, but it's not their turn. Um, and I'll have to go with the person whose turn it was, and someone's feelings are going to be hurt. And because I'm the one who decided whose turn it was, you know, inadvertently that blame is sometimes turned towards me. And I can pull that child aside and say, I know you were really excited about that movie, and I didn't let you have that movie because it wasn't your turn. You know, the easier analogy might be candy. I have Halloween candy still lying around, and my kids are asking for it several times a day. I'm really, you know, I hear you, but you really wanted that piece of candy. And part of my job is keeping you safe, and I didn't let you have another piece of candy. I see that your feelings were hurt because of something I had to do, and I'm sorry. And the biggest motivator is when you see the reaction on your child's face, it's a blend of astonishment and confusion and just feeling loved and validated and accepted. Holy crap, like my mom is apologizing to me. What? You know?
Yeah.
Um, I think that if you co-parent, um, my husband will call me out all the time because my daughter is so strong-willed and my son is very people-pleasing. I often will just ask him to give her what she's asking for just to stop the fight because that's the quickest way to end a fight. And my husband will often call me out of like, hey, just because she's louder doesn't mean he gets bullied or he gets the short end of the stick each time. And when I recognize what I've done, I will go down to his room and say, hey, I'm just now noticing this is what happened. And I'm sorry, that wasn't fair to you. In the future, I'm going to think about how you have your own needs and wants too. And I'm going to be more fair and balanced about
Mhm.
who's not whose side I take, but how I judge what should be done.
Yeah, and that process right there is so respectful of individual differences of children and how they're wired. So apologies are incredibly powerful and can go so long, but it is important to customize how you apologize and how you attune to your child based on their wiring, their personality, what kind of sensory input they need, because every child is so different.
Absolutely. And I think every parent knows what I'm talking about when I say some nights we go to bed and it hits us that we've done something that we weren't very proud of. It's not terrible, right? But it's like, I shouldn't have done that. Or I should have picked a better word. Or I shouldn't have reacted so quickly. Or I shouldn't have shut down like they were telling me about something that I wish they hadn't done, but they were telling me about it. So I reacted in a way that shut down that conversation, right? I'm sure parents of teens, especially, are going to
Oh, yeah.
resonate with that. You have an opportunity for repair, and there's a magical key available to you, which is an apology. And I know that apologizing to your children might sound like I am giving them some kind of superiority, or I am making myself inferior by apologizing. But I think that when done correctly, you can really build a way stronger relationship with your child. And there is so much more power in the relationships we build with our children, especially when we're talking about they're going to grow up to be teens and then adults. And they're going to talk to somebody who, when they have a choice of whether or not to talk to you, they're going to choose to speak to the parents who treat them like a human being, treat them like their own person, and treat them like, closer to an equal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is a good step into that, is learning to apologize.
Yeah. And I would even go as far to say creating the habit of apologizing when your children are young lays a very strong foundation for your future relationship with them as an adult and for their future intimate and friendships, like all the relationships to come. So it's not just a practice to ease the tension of the moment. It's actually training their body and their mind to accept apologies and build safety and connection with
Right.
you as their parent.
If I build the environment that I'm always right and I do not apologize for anything I do because I do no wrong, and you have to only live life the way that I want you to, even if it's unfair or you don't think that that's best, that relationship, I'm not going to wake up one day and decide, okay, cool, we can communicate better now, or I can listen to you with no judgment and I can apologize for what I've done wrong. And when my kids turn 14, 15, 18 years old, if I've laid the foundation of, I don't judge you, you can come to me and talk to me about whatever you want to, and I'll help you as much as you want me to help you, or we have the kind of relationship where you can talk to me about how I've made you feel, then that is way deeper of a bond. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to work towards with my children than, just getting it over with or done in the moment.
Yeah. Powerful. So good. So good. So related to apologies, but a slightly different topic. While we have you, I think it'd be great to just hear some wisdom that you have around self-care and why it's so powerful as a parent.
Oh my gosh. I noticed right away when I have just exhausted myself. It's interesting that you're asking me now because daylight savings has really thrown me off. It happened, a week and a half ago. And you feel it very differently as a parent. I used to love it in my 20s as cool. I get to sleep in for another hour. No, it's like 8 o'clock when it should be 9 o'clock. And when it's 8:30 is like my kid's bedtime. And that's the time I get to have, like, I'll work out or I watch TV or whatever. But now it's like the old 9 o'clock and I'm exhausted and my kids want another song and somebody wants water and my cup is empty. There is not a drop left to give. And it's more palpable now, the importance of self-care for me. I know in a couple of weeks I'll be just fine and regulated in that sense, but if I do not take care of myself, I cannot show up for my kids in this way as this version who is trying to build deep connections with them. I am way more reactive instead of reflective and responsive to my children. I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm annoyed like any other human being. I experience those emotions. And I think self-care was very important for me as a therapist to take on and to listen to issues and problems and mental health things from other people all day. I had to learn very quickly to manage those emotions and to manage what was happening in my body as I sat with people in their difficult moments. And I have really had to up my game even more as a parent. So there are certain things that are non-negotiable for me. I have to work out. I have to work out 4 times a week or more. You know, when my kids go to bed, even if it's 10 minutes of yoga, I have to do something to connect to my body and just to disconnect from sitting with my kids. And, you know, my kids are also at the age where they need so much. They're 7 and 4. I'm being asked for 25 different things before I even open my eyes, right? So it's very demanding. I meditate pretty regularly. My adult time is very sacred to me, right? So being able to have conversations with adults, whether it's colleagues or my husband or my friends, being able to watch TV that is not animated is another gift to myself. Um, the other the other part of self-care for me is learning what I can and cannot do. I cannot be a business owner, a therapist, a mom, a wife, and also keep my house clean at the same time. So I hire help for housekeeping. You know, I've been able to identify this takes more out of me than I am willing to give this task. So this would be better suited for somebody who's actually an expert in doing this to do, instead of me being frustrated that my house is dirty and not having time to clean it. Like that is, you know, I will forego everything else to keep a housekeeper. I think a big self-care item for me is knowing when to ask for help, whether I ask my husband to take my kids out for a bike ride and just give me half an hour to fold laundry in silence or just lay on the couch. I think something new moms especially feel guilty about is when, say I'm done with work, I used to run home right away. Like I wouldn't even clean up my desk. I would get in my car, I would drive home, I would run up those stairs to see my kids. Now I will finish up doing notes. I might watch like 10 minutes of a show. I might do some like personal to-do notes. I might run an errand. I might sit in my car and listen to a podcast or listen to a song before I climb up those stairs and then be hit with the demands of being a mom, because it really is another job after my job. It's a more demanding job. I remember walking out one Friday and a therapist who wasn't married, she didn't have kids. She's like, okay, you're like done for the week. What are you going to do with your weekend? And I'm like, this is the hardest part of my week when I walk out on Friday, because that is so much more work than my day job.
Wow.
So working out and taking care of my body is one. Being able to connect with adults, doing things that I love. I know that when I'm really stressed out, like I'm not doing the things I love, like cooking and art and being in nature. And so I schedule those into my life. It's things that I'm already going to do, you know, so I can nurture myself through that, and asking for help, and also taking care of myself. Something that kind of has been hard for me to notice is as a mom, you're taking care of people. And as a therapist, you are taking care of people. And so it's very easy to feel like, well, who's going to take care of me? And sometimes the reality is, I have to take care of myself. Or, when you go for a massage or you hire a housekeeper, you're paying for people to take care of you. So you're still taking care of yourself, but you have to show up for yourself in that way. You have to let go of the feelings around that, feel the feelings, and then let go of them. And then really just know that you're going to have to do that, because me showing up as my tired, cranky, annoyed self, the way that I show up for my kids in that moment is very different than the version of me who's had a day off and gotten a massage and gotten a workout in and taken a shower longer than 5 minutes. That person is the Pinterest mom. Then I can make cookies with my kids. Then we can do a board game. But I can't do a board game after 6 clients and then, whatever else adult responsibility I've had to do that's annoyed me that day. No, we're not going to play a board game. We're going to sit here and watch TV. Or if you guys get in a fight, like, good luck to you. What
Yeah.
self-care really is, like, whatever form self-care takes for you. I could not be this mom 2.0 that I want to be without the element of self-care. And that very much includes help when I can get it.
Oh, you hit on so many important parts of self-care. And I try to preach on here that it's not like a luxury or like a woo-woo thing to do. It's actually a necessity of building healthy relationships. But this especially applies to parenting. I loved what you said about the practice of saying no. I think that's very powerful. And also pausing and resetting your own nervous system before entering even in the space with kids, because they feel everything.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I
Yes.
absolutely love that. And I think as women, and especially if you're a mom, being kind of stuck in this sympathetic arousal all day of just like surviving and going, planning and organizing and cooking, it's like you truly can get stuck there. And that's where chronic stress can become scary and will really get our attention in big ways. So everything you shared was so helpful, and little action steps to really slow it down, to pause, and to make sure your own body, your own mind and nervous system are regulated before stepping into whatever's next in your day.
Absolutely. I think self-care for me is not a luxury, it is a survival skill, because I will notice my own levels of anxiety, feelings of depression, um, just irritability skyrocket if I am not taking care of myself and I let my workouts go for a month and I'm eating processed food as my main meal. If I'm not stopping to rest and meditate and sit in silence or journal or connect with my friends, the way that I am showing up is not in tune with myself. So, how can I be in tune with anybody else?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
My well being is not going to be very well. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be the way that my mental health is wired is I'm going to be super anxious. I'm going to have a knot in my stomach. I'm going to feel depressed and sad instead of joyful. And so for very much for me, self-care is survival. And it's a double blessing that the people around me get to experience me as my best self
Mhm.
when I'm able to best do that.
Yep.
So I build safeguards around making sure I don't let self-care go.
Mm. Yeah. I love it. Yes, and I know this will be powerful for anyone listening with the holidays coming up, and there's a lot of transitions and more family time. So, thank you so much for sharing all of
Pleasure.
this and all of these invaluable tips. I do know a lot of therapists tune in to this show. So I would love for you to share about your businesses that you have, any openings or the exciting news about ShrinkSync. Where can everyone find you?
So I own a group practice called Playa Vista Counseling. And my colleague and I, who you are very good friends with, Valentina Seta Ducati, we wrote a book called Break Up and Break Out. And so if you search for that, you will find it on Amazon, or you'll find our Instagram handle, where we really focus on breaking out after our breakup and really having it be a positive, transformative experience. So that's one piece. And the other piece is called Shrink Sync, where we have created an app for mental health professionals to connect and share resources and referrals and training opportunities. It's kind of an online networking community for mental health professionals. So the information for that is shrinksync.com. Yeah, those are kind of my other children that I'm working on right now. And for me, another piece of self-care really has been balancing my professional life with having children, because they both really feed off of each other and need each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm sure it's an ongoing process.
Yeah,
It's never perfect. I can
never
imagine.
perfect. And I'm
Yeah.
not looking for perfection. I'm
Yeah.
looking for my own best. So thanks for letting me also plug those professional endeavors.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And for those who are in Southern California, she
Yes.
runs an amazing group practice. And I'll be sure to put the links and everything for that for those who are interested in finding a therapist.
Thank you, Kendra. I'm
You are welcome.
always loving what you're doing. Truly, I love your work in this area. And since you've told me about your podcast, I can't stop listening to it. I listened to the one with your mom this morning, and I loved it.
Love that. Yay. Thank you for saying that. It's truly been so fun. And I know we're both very passionate about similar things, but we love mental health. So thank you for being here.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Kendra.